Welcome back to the To Create is Human podcast. Season 2 is all about storytelling. This is episode 6, I believe, of season 2. In this season, I want to become a better storyteller. I love telling stories. I love creating. And before we get into the episode, I'm actually going to kick this off with a new segment called The Story Bite, where I'm just going to take 60 seconds and give you a quick, actionable tip or quote or something you can remember that'll help you tell better stories, help you be a better storyteller. So here is today's Story Bite. People want you to say what they can't when you're telling stories to them. I recently saw a car with a sticker on the back that said, "If I passed you on the right, you're an idiot." And I'm not bold enough to put that on the back of my car, but it got me thinking. The person that did was willing to say something that I wasn't willing to say, but that I so relate to. We all want to hear somebody say the hard thing, the thing that we're all thinking, the truth that might be ugly but is undeniable. It's why good comedians are so good, because they speak to something that everybody experiences but either can't say themselves or doesn't know how to say or has never really thought of in that certain light. Perhaps there's a shade of resemblance to this within storytelling and marketing. I think saying the hard thing puts you in a position for others to either ridicule you, which is their loss, not yours, or really trust you and grasp onto you as a thought leader. And that's today's Story Bite. I'm not going to take any longer on the intro of this episode. I'm just going to get you straight into Adam. He's a good friend of mine. He's been on the podcast before, actually. He's a fantastic storyteller. He works for a Serve Pro, which is a restoration company, and also does work for a local church down in Birmingham, Alabama. Here we go. So, what do you say we dive straight into the story? Because this is what I really want to get into. What does the word story mean to you, man? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Man, when I think about story, the biggest thing that I think about is what's something that we can share that impacts someone. Like, what is it that you're sharing about that? And it doesn't have to directly be sales. It could just be sharing. One of the things we're working through right now at the church is we're trying to work through, we're kicking off a new small group season like most churches do. You come back from winter, and with that side of what I do with the creative media and marketing with the church full time, what's the biggest impact we can have by finding people that are part of our church family that are dedicated to small groups and make it a part of their life? And how can we tell their story about how it's been impactful to them? Because what my hope is if somebody sees that, whether it's on a Sunday morning, maybe we just put it on our website, whatever it is, maybe we post it on social media. If we create a story that speaks volumes to someone else, or even just has a small bit of, makes somebody think a little bit, I feel like your story is achieved because it's done what it's supposed to do. It's done to create thinking. It's done to create mind change, people to come through and think of different things. So if we can find a way to share somebody's story and the impact that them, whether that's leading a small group, whether that's just being part of a small group, whatever that is, even if it's, one new person that joins, our slogan is for the one. Like, that's something that we hear a lot. Our students use it a whole lot in their youth ministry, but it doesn't matter how much we do, it's for the one. If you can bring one person to it. And I think sometimes that's what an impact of a story is. I mean, think about any story that you watch, whether that's a movie, whether that's a short clip, whether it's a podcast. Stories to me are everywhere. It doesn't have to be, quote unquote, reading a book or, something like that. Stories are people sharing their experiences. I mean, why do you think when pastors preach, they use illustrations or stories so much? It's because sometimes people relate better to what somebody else is going through, and say, oh man, that's me too. Like, hold on, I'm dealing with that. That's what I'm dealing with. This is how this person handled it. So again, I think story to me equals impact. What can you tell? What can you share that's going to change someone's mindset or attitude or, outlook on anything?
Love that. In your response to me just barely, you said, how can I pull that out of them? How do you kind of pull that out of them? How do you make their story apply not only to your brand of Serve Pro or whether it's the church as well, if you're telling different members' stories? How do you take one person's story and make it and pull out the stuff that applies it to the brand, but also to online marketing, social media and stuff.
So what I think you have to be able to pivot. I think that's the thing too. So you can send somebody questions, right? You can say, hey, I got these are what we're going to talk about. Here's some questions I want to give you. Here's some things I want you to think about, right? What I think is important, and it's tough because you might be thinking of the next thing, but one of the things I try to do in my interviews, and I in no way, shape, or form in trying to make it sound like I'm the best interviewer. Like,
you are
I know
the best.
I got some room to grow. I got a lot to do. But one of the things I try to do is kind of like what you're doing is get off topic a little bit, is listening to that conversation. We recently did a video for another Serpro team. It was awesome. We have some good friends of ours out in Missouri. Very similar team to ours, very similar fundamentals, beliefs, things like that. And we went to film. Well, the owners of it was her mom and dad, and they bought it years ago. She's basically been in the system, the owner now. She's basically been in the system since she was like 3. And the husband, who's also a co-owner, is in it. But they wanted to interview her mom and dad, like, hey, they're getting older. We'd love to hear their story. And I've never filmed this much. I had an hour and 20 minutes of interview footage for both. We interviewed both couples. So Brittany and Mac Davenport, they're the younger couple. That was her mom and dad. We called them, the future. We filmed her mom and dad, and we filmed that from a legacy standpoint. Okay, so hey, this is how Team Davenport got started. This is what they went through. These are the things they did. Well, then Mac and Brittany, we talked about, well, what's to come? Like, what's the future? And it was tough because we kept filming, and man, they would say things. I'm like, hey, let's touch on that for a second. And so I think sometimes the biggest way to pull that out is just being connected to who you're interviewing and listening to those questions and realizing that, okay, great, you may have sent them like 7 questions you're going to hit. It doesn't mean you need to stick to those 7 questions. Because you never know what you're going to get into when you're interviewing somebody. I mean, you may get somebody that's nervous as can be, or dude, you might get somebody like me that can never realize when to stop talking and keeps going. And so you got to figure out how to hone that back in. Like when it feels like it's getting off subject, you got to figure out how to hone that back in. And then you need to figure out where the pressure points are. Like not bad pressure points, but when they say things like, hey, let's keep going with that. Like, tell me a little bit more about that. And then, dude, the hardest part is getting together and piecing the whole story together. I had 2 and a half hours of interview footage. I'm like, what in the world? How do I put this together and it not be 45 minutes? So we got it down. So we started the video. I got it from 2.5 hours down to 2 hours, down to an hour and a half, down to an hour. And so what I did is I kept going through and realizing like, okay, it doesn't need this. It doesn't need this. And then once I got to that last 30 minutes, I started feeling like, okay. And then I would start moving things around when I wanted it to tell the story. So it kind of went back and forth. And I got it down to 8 minutes, from 2.5 hours down to 8 minutes, and they loved it. And it went really well. He actually wrote me back and he was like, hey, can we do a whole video on just them? I'm like, we can, but it's going to have to be a separate project.
Right. Like you said, you've got to kind of open yourself up to the story. I think what I did wrong when I first started was I just went question, answer, question, answer, question, answer,
Yep.
Question, wait for their answer. And then I'm immediately just like, what is my next question? Like I'm so focused on what my next question is. I'm not listening to what they're saying. I did this with a couple episodes when I first started podcasting, and I can't even listen back to them because I hate myself so much for it. But I'd ask a decent question and the guest would give a fantastic answer. And when I listened back after editing it and a couple months after posting it, I was like, man, I really wish I would have dove into what they said right there. But I didn't in the interview. I was just like, oh, good answer. Let's go on to the next thing. And I've gotten better at that. Still have room to grow, obviously. But like I really try now. There was a podcast that I did with Kensington 3 months ago or something. And I came with a list of maybe 8 or 10 questions that I wanted to ask. And we got in there. And after we were done, I had asked only 3 of them. And it was the best conversation we'd had in a very long, like it was one of the best podcasts I had made in a long time as well. I mean, it was.
He's so good.
He's so
like,
good.
This sounds weird. He's so well spoken, and like listening to him, it's nice because a lot of times when you ask somebody a question, it's even like me, like I have to think about it for a second when I get a curveball. I don't feel like when you ask Kensington questions, he has to think long about it.
Yeah.
I feel like
right.
he's very good at like flowing with it. So yes, very much so. Any of the podcasts you do at Kensington are always
Dude,
phenomenal.
they're always bangers. Yeah. Something you said that I really love because it's creative. It's a creative, what's the word? It's just part of the creative process is cut. I did a documentary for Farm Bureau. And between all the interviews, we probably had several hours. I don't know exactly how many hours. It was a lot. It was so many. It was several 45-minute interviews. Probably ended up being about 3 or 4 or 5 hours total of interviews. And then B-roll was, several days and weekends and evenings of just shooting the harvest and the planting and all of the check in the fields and all that stuff. And I had to take all that and boil it down into what became a 25-minute thing. And that didn't just happen. I'm not saying people don't appreciate it or whatever, but I think, an earlier version of myself would have been like, oh yeah, like it's just so easy to just string it all together. It's just magic.
So much sifting.
But
much.
The amount of times I watch it, I'm numb to it at the end of the video. By the end of the documentary, and it happens with normal videos too. Sometimes a 45-second social media video that I post on my socials was a 5-minute rant. Eventually, I cut it down to 2 to 1 minute, and then to get from 1 minute to 40 or 30 seconds really just it takes everything in you. I heard it once from a book, and I cannot remember for the life of me which book it was. The author said, you are killing your loved ones at the end of the day. Like when you get that down to where you're like, it's 80% of the way done, but it's not all the way done. To get it all the way cut down, you're killing friends and family members, dude. Because those are some beloved like shots or pieces of the interview quotes. If it doesn't add to the story, you got to cut it.
But it's what's the most impactful to the story. It's the same thing we do with our social media, like at the church. Like we took some buckets and we said, all right, look, if it doesn't like educate, if it doesn't invite, if it doesn't uplift, if it doesn't create growth, that's the 4 things we said. Everything we create at the church, whether that's marketing campaigns, bumper videos, like social media posts, anything, if they don't fit into one of those 4 buckets, why are we posting it? Like that's what it is. Our social media at the church is not a bulletin board. We're not here to just post we're not just going to continue to post like events that are happening. That if we want to do that, we'll just, we'll put a board up in the church and let people walk by and say, hey, here's everything that's going on. We need to find 4 things that fits that vibe. So when we post stuff, if it fits in one of those buckets, we know it's doing what we're supposed to. Because what we found out is they say like 60 to 70% of all people will look at your online content before they even consider stepping foot on your campus.
Absolutely.
And so what we call our social media at the church, I got a couple girls on my team that are younger that do a really good job. They're very, they're very much up on trends. Like, look, I'm 40. Like I'm not the trendiest person anymore with it. So they're younger, they're ready, but we call it our front door, our digital marketing, our social media, our website. It's the front door to our house.
I love that.
And it lets people get inside and see it. And so if you're editing a story, it doesn't matter how much you love it. That's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're like, oh man, this is such a good story. This is great. If it doesn't achieve your goal of whatever your video is about, you got to cut it. There's days, man, that we would post something. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing we've ever posted. Like we're just following trends now, right? Like that's all it is. And I understand that's what social media is, but for us, it needs to be bigger than that. Like this is impactful to people. And so we're not just asking people to come to church. We're trying to ask them to change their lives a little bit. So we've got to find some things they got to fit these buckets. And so I would tell you the same thing with a story. What are your buckets for your story? What are the things that you're trying to do? If it doesn't fit in even just one of those, you got to take it out.
I love it. I would love to hear your thoughts on, for you particularly, the storyteller, what makes you lean forward when you are consuming a story? Not telling a story, but when you're consuming a story, what is it about that makes you like kind of, what is that? Like, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to watch the rest of this, I don't know, video, movie, read the rest of this book, whatever it is. What is it that makes you like lean in? You know what I mean?
So it'll sound selfish, but when I'm interviewing somebody and I'm working through a story, or even not interviewing somebody, just filming something I mean, again, stories don't have to be word spoken. They can be just visual.
Sure.
And when I'm doing whatever the project is, when I'm working on something and I'm like, we've got something here, it's when I start thinking through how people are going to react to it. One of my favorite things that I do, and it's just it's probably, call it selfish, whatever you want to call it, it's me. Anytime we create a video for the church or anything and we show it on a Sunday, I love to stand in the back of the room and just watch people's reaction. Like, did it achieve the goal that I felt like it achieved? Did it make the impact on me while I was editing it? Like, that's it. Like, I know that's it. We've got it. Like, this right here is gold, and that's one of my favorite things to do is sit. Like, I don't need, yes, we all love people giving us credit. We love people doing it. I mean, we're human. It's what we enjoy. But I don't need people like calling me out and be like, Adam made that video. Adam did that. I just thoroughly enjoy sitting and watching people. So when I'm telling a story, I'm listening for things. And in my head, I'm like, how could I use that? And how could that be what causes emotion? Because that's what I want from everything I make, is have some type of emotional impact. It doesn't have to mean they're bawling, crying, but are they laughing? Are they like, hey, even just emotional, like, hey, dude, this was awesome. Like, great job on this video. This looks really cool. Man, this was great. Like, that to me is what I'm doing. So when I'm listening to that and I'm working with someone and maybe it's something they've shared, maybe it's I'm filming somebody singing, whatever it is, it's like when in my head I'm like, man, this is going to cause that emotional reaction. That's when I'm like, we got to push more into this.
Yeah, I actually, to kind of piggyback along that, my favorite moments are when I'm in a room with somebody, even if it's one person, even if I'm just showing my wife a video that I made for her, or just a fun video, like a stupid, funny video that I made, and we just both laugh at it. My favorite moments truly are not the likes or the comments or anything like that. They're when I'm like with family members, friends, my wife, people that I may not even know sometimes if we do a watch party, like, or I don't know that well. And I can get a kick, I can get a reaction out of them. And it's actually kind of funny. When we first got married, my wife, for context, is like the least center of attention person ever. Like, she doesn't want the attention. She's a very selfless person. She wants to like help people out, but she's not about the praise. And so she didn't even have social media for a long time. We did not have social media for a long time. Until I really got into this, I didn't even have social media. And so for the longest time, when I went over to my family's house, when we would go over to my parents' house, I'd like bring my laptop and I'd want to show them some videos that I made. Because when I lived with them, that's all I did. I was like the creative guy. I made a video of the family, made a video of me and a brother playing football or throwing a basketball around or whatever. I showed that to the family, pull it up on the TV. And so it's kind of funny when we'd head over there as a married couple, my wife and I, when we'd head over to my parents' house, I'd always bring my laptop and play something for the family on the TV that I had made recently. And it was just, that's what I love to do. It's like, it fulfills me. And for the longest time, it was just a miscommunication between my wife and I. She's like, I really hate that you just are like digging for attention. And I'm like, I guess in a way I am, but not in like that, not in like a selfish or needy way. Like, I really just love making people feel something and laugh and cry. And ever since I told her that, which again, as a husband not communicating something, I guess, ever since I told her that, she's like, oh, I think that's so awesome. Like, please do that. Go all in. I love that about you. I love that you do that. Like, I want you to do that. Go all in and do it. I'm getting off track here.
No, but you're making a point though, is that, sometimes too, when we're telling stories, is like, you're kind of getting people to understand why you do what you do. And, I think in the social media world, in the influence world, everything that you see is put on a pedestal to the point where people are like, oh, you just want attention. You just want attention. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yes and no, but sometimes I want people to see that I have a creative side to me,
Yeah.
And dude, some of the jobs that I've gotten and some of the things I've gotten to do this past year were done because I chose to share some things. Like, I don't work with a shoe company or anything, but I have a pair of shoes back here I haven't even worn because I'm like, I want to make a video about them. And I have them on the shelf, but I haven't worn them because I haven't made a video. But I made some videos about some other shoes that I had gotten. And when it happened, because I made those videos that I just put on my personal page, not even my business page, my personal page, I was able to get connected with a place here in Birmingham, and I got to do a couple videos this past year for some big name brands. And it was a sports store here in Birmingham, but it was because I chose to be creative. It's like you're doing. I'm not doing it for attention stuff. I was just like, you know what? I have an itch and I want to scratch it.
Exactly.
But dude, sometimes doing those things helps you achieve and give you opportunities that you may not have had before.
Absolutely, dude. And I fear that I'm going too far from the question answer to where I'm like, now I have to touch on everything that my guest says after they say it and spend another 5 minutes talking about it. So I apologize if I do that. I'm like the pendulum. I used to just question answer, and
dude,
now I'm like, I gotta touch
a podcast is conversational. Like
that's true.
To me, that's what I tell.
I'd rather it be a conversation than just question answer.
Yes.
So
I would much rather it be back and forth. And that was one of the things we've moved our Higher Up podcast into the studio. And I was like, guys, we got to get away from these question and answer podcasts. Like we stick too much to the script, and we do. And I've told them that I was like, we stick too much to the script. We've got to allow flexibility. Again, just like your interviews, you've got to allow flexibility to just have a conversation. If people want to just listen to question and answers, they'd attend a seminar. Right?
Or buy a course or something like that.
Or a course or something like that. Like they're doing this because they're listening or they're partaking or, they're consuming this content because it's something that keeps them engaged in a conversation. So, dude, I'm here for it. I love the questions, but man, the conversation sometimes, and then it gives you something to think about when you're done.
Absolutely. And that made me think of just another thing that I used to do that I think I've grown from a lot, and understanding why people are on each platform. Like for a podcast like this, people want a little bit of personality within the conversation. Of course, they want a conversation, but another reason they don't want just another question answer type of media is because they want personality. And I think of the podcasts that I enjoy listening to, and I think they have a good mixture between value and just the host and guest, or the two co-hosts' personality. Really like, just kind of coming on and through the podcast. And I think that's important to note when you are making content for anything, because if you're making stuff for social media, I don't want to just be like, I don't want to say that there's a right or wrong way to do every single thing, but I do think it's important so that you don't frame a podcast like a social media post or a course, or frame a social media, frame a social page strategy like what it shouldn't be.
Look, post the thing, post what you enjoy. You're going to find community in the people that enjoy it as well. Like, I always hate, I get it. I get it when it comes to these guys that are marketing, like, hey, you want to grow your business? You want to do, like, great. That's what they're doing, right? Like they themselves are trying to use their knowledge to help you grow your page if they've grown theirs. But man, sometimes, and I'm all for it. Like, I see these competitions that like people put out, like, hey, what's your best hook, and use this song and all. Like, dude, I just want to make stuff I like. Like if I get it, I'm like, man, that was cool. Like that was fun to make. Like I did one the other day. I did an unboxing for some Lab Culture stuff. I mean, obviously I love Lab Culture. I love Johnny Hofstetter, like just the stuff he does and the things he creates and the vibe. And I love his branding. But man, like I had this idea of what I wanted to do, and I taught myself some new things. Like I taught myself how to put this really cool like warp effect around the whole video, and how to do this like weird, like it's like it pulls in and pulls out at the same time. And when I was done, I was like, I don't care if anybody likes it or not. Like I figured out how to do it.
Dude, I watched that post. I noticed, because I tried something radial blur or rotation blur, where it goes around the whole thing. I noticed that on your post as well, the Lab Culture unboxing. Anyways, wanted to let you know I saw that. That was sick. So,
but if nobody cared about it, that's fine. But I got to learn something new. I taught something new. I had some time.
Sure.
Dude, the box had been sitting on my floor, I kid you not, for like 2 weeks. I've been wanting to wear the stuff and I haven't. So I was like, you know what, I'm doing it. And I enjoyed it. And sometimes, man, to me, it's just about posting what you enjoy. And because I don't want a bunch of people. Like I remember when we were doing Happy Creative, I remember Bryson had told us one time, you know, him and Landon did that ridiculous video when the Apple Vision came out, and Bryson posted it.
Ridiculous amount of views.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was like 100 million. Like, I don't know. It was wild. But I remember him telling us, he was like, guys, it was fun. But dude, now I have all these followers and none of them engage on my stuff because they saw one video that we just did as a joke. But that's not what I create. That's not what I do. And so, you know, I think that spoke I think when he said that, I was like, man, we're missing the mark when it comes to social media. It's everybody's about followers. Find the people that are in your community that you can make an impact on, and have those, create content for those people. I think sometimes we just get so caught up. And you got to have the right amount of followers. And don't get me wrong, followers come with benefits. Followers come with people giving you stuff to try and you make videos of. I mean, yes, there has benefits. But, man, it's like one of those things you get to the point where are you making a video for you, or are you making a video because a company sold you something or sent you something to try and you got to do it now, you know?
Right. I actually went through something a little bit similar, not as far as like huge viewership, but on LinkedIn. Actually, I was... It's kind of funny because I was listening to your episode where you talked about the Cracker Barrel rebrand. During the Cracker Barrel rebrand, I made a post talking about how I think it's just ridiculous how everybody's overreacting, and I just picked a side, right? Maybe like at the time I did think it was ridiculous. I was like, just let a brand rebrand. Obviously, I do think it was ridiculous on the other side to go to the flip side. I think it was ridiculous that Cracker Barrel was changing the insides of their stores and kind of removing what made it the old country store.
Yep.
And I think they've kind of since taken that back, and they're trying to retain their nostalgia.
Damage control.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think they're trying to kind of take a little bit about that.
Marketing genius that they did it on purpose?
See, that's what I don't know. I've wondered that. I've speculated about that very thing. I'm like, did they know from the very beginning they were just trying to get like a publicity stunt to get all this marketing, all these people just talking about it?
They had to have known. I would 100% believe they did. If they did, genius. It was kind of like the whole thing with Stranger Things. I was like, if the Duffer Brothers really have this like conspiracy last episode, they will go down in history as the greatest storytellers ever. And then they fumbled the bag. They fumbled the bag. They had the chance to be the best storytellers ever, and they fumbled it.
Yeah. Well, and see, like you guys on your podcast were talking, I didn't mind the Cracker Barrel logo, like the new logo. I thought it was fine.
It wasn't bad at all.
It was kind of a modern,
I'm here for modern things,
minimalistic kind of look. A lot of people, for most of the people, here's what made me mad, and kind of what my post was a little bit about. If I remember correctly, I'd have to go back and look. Most of the people on LinkedIn were freaking out because of the logo, not necessarily what it was, like everything else that Cracker Barrel was removing. And I just thought that it was stupid that everybody was talking about that, and only that anyways. And I got like 300 or 400 something comments on that post. And I was trying to respond to all of them and just keep up with it. And eventually, there were more trolls than people that were actually having like legitimate, helpful conversations. And eventually I was just like, okay, this is ridiculous. But that post helped me out. Like not at all. It did not help. It did not help my
These are not people that are looking to call Jake up to tell their story. You're like, yeah, man, I got all these people. Business is about to be booming. And you're like, nobody's calling.
Exactly. At the time I was like, and I didn't think it would be the most revolutionary thing ever for my business. But at the time I was like, oh, sick. Like now at least I'm going to show LinkedIn that I can get traction, and I can get I can get a movement started here, you know, and I can get maybe some of these people are interested. And most of them are probably, not probably, most of them were just keyboard warriors who didn't have anything better to do than LinkedIn. Yeah. I just remember like coming to that realization of like, oh yeah, these people are just complaining about a problem that they have no control over, and may or may not affect them a whole lot, I guess, unless you go to Cracker Barrel all the time. I didn't even, the stores that were near me, I didn't even see the differences. Maybe they hadn't, had they not rolled it out?
Here. They definitely were not changing it in Alabama. I can tell you that.
Yeah, the stores that are close to us here, we never saw any of the changes. So maybe that was just a trial thing in a couple locations, but I don't know.
I'm telling you. it was a publicity stunt. I'm calling it.
Dude, I'm with you. I think it totally was.
All those photos were probably a staged Cracker Barrel somewhere.
They probably were. I'm curious if it was actually similar to, except these guys, I don't think they did it for a publicity stunt. I think they legitimately just changed entirely who they are, and I think that's stupid, is Jaguar. Did you see their rebrand? Jaguar's rebrand?
Oh, no. Did they change everything?
Just because for the sake of this podcast, I think you need to see it. I'm gonna send you a before and after so we can talk about it, or just look up Jaguar rebrand. Just look that up.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh gosh.
And you need to see after this call, you need to look at the video that they did with it. It is it is a 180 shift. It's not a Pepsi like dial in. Let's change some things with this logo. It's not like a Cracker Barrel.
What the heck is that?
Right? They look
Am I the only one that feels like that's a purse?
Thank you. It looks like a perfume or like a women's something company. Anyways, LinkedIn was losing their absolute ever-loving minds over that about a year ago now. What is that? Yeah.
Dude, sometimes I want to be like, who's behind this? Like, who comes in and says, guys,
let's just change it.
I got it.
But see, Jaguar didn't call it back. That's their new look. They didn't call it back. That is them now. So that makes me wonder, did they do that for just for the publicity? Because they got a lot of publicity, but I think, I don't know. Some people say all publicity. Some people say all publicity is good publicity. For me, I say yes, unless you change entirely who you are. If you're changing entirely who you are, I don't know, man.
They're 100% moving out of the car industry and they're moving into the handbag industry because it looks to me like some type of Dolce and Gabbana, like some type of like Gucci. It looks like the Gucci logo.
It does. It looks like some sort of perfume or purse or women's product something brand. I don't know exactly.
It
doesn't appeal to their customer base at all.
Like it's not even a Jaguar. Like what? Like that's the whole point. Like what are they going to do with the hood ornament? Like that's what the Jaguars are known for.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. Anyways, so to kind of go back to what I was saying.
You're good.
I wanted to show you that to kind of show how ridiculous and extreme brands can get.
I'm a branding guy, so when you do that, like you're gonna like I love branding.
Dude, me too.
Like it doesn't. We're going through a rebrand at the church right now, and dude, we have gone. It has been a 1.5-year process, but I think we finally dialed it in because it's one of those things where it's like, how do we honor the past, but how do we look forward to the future? So
that's the question right there.
How do we update? Because we have a lot of members who have been at the church for a long time, but also, why the heck do we have a leaf? Like, is that what is life? Is life? That's one of the things I ask. I was like, it's Christian Life Church. Is life symboled as a leaf? Because if that it is, leaves die and come back over and over again. So I'm like, who? I don't know. Anyways, I'm a huge branding guy. Sorry, I'm gonna get off subject. You're gonna you start talking about branding, I'm gonna go complete opposite direction.
All good, dude. I guess the point that I was wanting to make with that initial LinkedIn post that I'd made when Cracker Barrel rebranded, and my LinkedIn post, it's not the biggest LinkedIn post in the world, but it was huge for me. It was the most at the time.
It had a lot of comments on it.
350 comments, and they were mostly keyboard warriors and trolls, just going right back at me. And I kind of played with them, some of them for a while, but some of them were...
Lean into it, bro.
I leaned into it for a while, and then some of them were ruthless, and some of it was just so ridiculous, and it was so much time wasted replying to all those in a way. But then to contrast that with a post that I recently had pop off that I wasn't expecting. Again, I was not expecting this one to pop off, but it absolutely benefited my brand. Again, on LinkedIn, I posted, actually for this podcast, for this exact season that we're in, season 2, for this season, I'm going all in on storytelling and the word story. And so I'm having on people who inspire me in how they tell stories, and people who I think are great storytellers and who can bring something unique to how to become a better storyteller. I'm interested in becoming a better storyteller. I'm interested in helping other people become a better storyteller. So that's kind of the whole premise of this season. And so on LinkedIn, I said, okay, I'll give $50 to the best person. And I did. I just Venmoed the guy this morning, actually. I'll give $50 to the best to the person with the best response to this question. And I believe the question was, what makes a story stick with you after it's over? Or what's a good story versus a bad story? I can't remember the exact question. But man, I was expecting maybe 20 people because I wanted people to answer the question.
265? I'm just looking at it.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
I was wanting people to answer the question, or sorry, I was wanting to get a lot of people to answer the question. And I'm like, I don't know if just regular LinkedIn organic is going to do that for me, because my average across my posts is maybe between, sometimes I get 0 comments on a post, sometimes I get 4. If I'm lucky, maybe I'll get 10 or 15. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll put a little money behind this. So I did. I just said, hey, I'll personally Venmo the person with the best response to this question. And man, it blew up, absolutely blew up. Relative to my audience again, relative to me, it blew up. It got 200 and by the time I was judging comments, it was 250 comments, and it's up to 260 something now. 265.
Yeah, 265. I was looking at the guy that said, I don't have Venmo, otherwise I'd happily take your money, my man.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. They're like, I'll answer it, but I don't have Venmo. No, it was funny. But absolutely, excuse me, absolutely benefited. What I'm doing here, there were so many insights, so much advice provided, so many unique angles added to what the word story is and what makes a story stick with you after it's over. I was so blown away with everything that people left. People poured their heart out for that $50. Not that I wasn't taking it seriously at the beginning, because I was willing to Venmo somebody $50, even if it was only like 1 out of the 5 people that had commented. But I got a lot of, it was so hard to whittle that down into what I eventually awarded that. But the thing that I did that I think helped me it a little bit. Again, not to be selfish or anything, but I'm all about building community and bringing people together for the common good of kind of building our brands and becoming better at telling stories and being more creative. I'm just a creative individual, so I just thrive off of that stuff. And so literally, as I was judging all of these things, as I was going through these comments and deciding which one was my favorite, again, you can't decide which is best because that's subjective. What's best for me might not be best for you, but what was my favorite, when I was judging all these comments, I went through and I just invited to connect every single person that left a thoughtful reply. Some of the trolls, because I still got 1 or 2 of them on this one, I have no interest in becoming connected just for the sake of adding more connections. But I legitimately, out of the 110 people that, or it was probably closer to 100 that I invited to connect, I just said, hey, I loved your comment. Thank you for taking the time. I'd love to connect. I changed it up a little bit for some of them, but out of the 100 people that I invited to connect with me, I got like 85 people. That is a crazy high success rate for me.
Especially if your goal is to kind of grow your following, then yeah.
Yeah. So with me bringing up all of that, my question for you is, what is it that makes a good story stick with you after it's over?
Did if I listen to a story or I read something, and after it's over, it catches me looking up things and trying to figure out, why did it end that way? Why, like what's coming next? Like what have I missed? Like I've loved it. And this is where I knew I found a story that I enjoy, because I'm not a book reader, man. Like I it's tough. Like I have a hard time reading books. I listen to them. I do all this. I have a hard time doing like fiction and things like that. But I love the series on Apple TV, Silo, and I love the story, and I love how it's told. The book, man, like I had heard a lot about the book, but when I finished, I was like, I need to know what happens next. Like I have finished season 2, and I'm like, wow, that's a huge cliffhanger. And it caused me to do something I don't normally do. And I went and purchased all the books, and I only have 1 more left. And I've listened to 2 of them. And I didn't read them, I listened to them. And I will tell you this, they're very hard to follow because it bounces back and forth. So, the Silo series is actually split up into, it's like cloth, dust, or something like that. Like you don't understand why. But like the first book is the here and now. The second book is how the silos were created. And the third book is the future. So it's like this weird order, right? Like you're here and now, prequel, ending. So to me, that's that you're asking about stories that do it. I don't read. I have a hard time. I'm just ADHD. I have a hard time reading. But when I finished watching that show, I needed more. And I went and did something I don't normally do. And I purchased the books and read them. And so, because I wanted to also see like where is it different? Like how everybody talks about, well, the book's wildly different from the show or vice versa. I mean, but the story's just so good. It's just like you're trying to figure all this stuff out and how the silos became. And I mean, I don't know. I just know that's the first time I've ever watched the show and then went and read the book. I've never done that before, ever. But I just really enjoyed the show and I wanted to know more.
Yeah. I remember wondering like why couldn't they put that in the movie? Like I had read some of the Harry Potter books or whatever, and there's several of the characters are embellished or they're not even slightly the same as far as like I think Snape, they don't even do him justice in the movies. I think he's way more sinister in the books. And I always wondered like why couldn't they just make it the same? And this particular YouTube video had on a screenwriter who had kind of had some experience as a book author as well. And she's like, look, like books and movies, they're so different. Like obviously with a book, you can have as many pages as you want. It can be as many hours long as you want if you're doing the audio version of the book, like an audiobook. With a movie, you're limited to 2 hours and you can really only get so far with 2 hours. That's the clear difference. But then the bigger underlying difference between a book and a movie that is sharing more or less the same story. We'll take Harry Potter, for example. The bigger underlying difference is that with a book, you are allowed to kind of imagine a character a certain way. Of course, they tell you like with the words on the page and with the pages in the book and the chapters in the book, they tell you enough about the character, but you're allowed to kind of imagine so much in your head within a book. And with same with the rest of the story with the book. Like there's so much that you're allowed to imagine. How was the environment there? What was this like? What was that like? And with a movie, it's all what the director wants you to see. Everything is down to what the director wants you to see. So I don't, as I'm saying this, I'm not even sure why I'm saying it. But I do think that that's important to know that there is intentionality put behind every story that is the mainstream story. And for me, I guess it's just an anecdote to previous me that would just get upset at like, why didn't they do this in the movie? Like the book was so much better. Again, I think Harry Potter, actually the movies are fantastic. Nothing really to complain about.
But the story it had you wanting to understand. See, that's where to me, I feel like a story you're asking like where I know I've got a story, like where it's important, where it's impactful is when the story ends, I'm looking for more answers and I'm looking for more to understand. That to me is how I know, like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of great ones. I mean, like think about like Stranger Things. It just ended. Like it's over. Like they tried to have, I mean, think about like, well, I say that I feel like they tried to copy Inception a little bit, right? Like did the dreidel stop spinning? Like think about that. Or, I didn't watch the show, but I've seen the debate, but The Sopranos, like that's a huge story. And I don't know, like I've seen a lot on TikToks, like I've never watched it, but I've seen a lot of it. But the way The Sopranos ends is the whole story is told from Tony's perspective. Well, in the end of it, like the screen goes black. And so like he's at a diner with his family and you think he got killed. Like you think he got clipped. But like HBO, like they had people thinking like their service went out. Like they didn't even go to like credits. Like it went black and it was done. Like that's how the whole series ended. So you don't know, like, did he die? Because he always, in the show, they said, one of the things I read about is they said in the show that he talks about like when it finally happens, you won't know, you won't feel it. You won't know. It'll just end and everything goes black. And so what I'm saying is think about like that's still debated now, like just like Inception. Like to me, that's an impactful story. Is like decades after it's over, people are still talking about it. Did the dreidel stop spinning in Inception? Did Eleven actually die in Stranger Things? Did Tony Soprano, did he actually die? See, to me, that's a story. Like if you watch something in the end and it longs you like to question what actually just happened, like not in a negative way, that's to me, that's you told something that's, you told a story that's impacting others, because now it's starting to have them think deeper and further.
Absolutely. That was actually a fairly common theme on that post that I made on LinkedIn about, a lot of people said what makes a good story or what makes a story stick with me is how much it makes me think after, or how much it leaves unanswered was also another thing that was kind of said. Like you don't have to over explain everything within your story and over tell. Some of the things that are best done in stories are the things that are not told all the way, but they're articulated in a way, or they're displayed in a way that makes you articulate within yourself, like, oh, what does that mean to me? Or the things that make you kind of say, I need to do that. I need to be better at that. Kind of going back to a little bit what we were talking about with cutting. Less is more. We know that, right? So for you, what is it that, what's the hardest part of a story to cut? Or how do you decide like what doesn't belong? I know that wasn't initially one of the questions that I sent you, but going along with what we were saying about just taking it down from that what you were saying about taking it from 2.5 hours of interviews all the way down. You had to cut, go through so many rounds down to the last 8 minutes. Is that what you said? 8-minute film?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it that, I mean, it's obvious from the get-go what you should and shouldn't put in. But when you get down there, what is the hardest stuff to cut?
It's hard to cut stories that are told that would be impactful. Like I know when I was doing the video for the Davenports, there was a couple stories I was like, man, like I remember Brittany told a story about her mom and dad and how much they cared for their team and how they've embraced, her and Mac have embraced that as they've taken over the business. And she talked about a story with her mom, and something had happened with a lady in their community. And so she gave their son a job, and he's just been forever grateful and is still a big part of that team, even when she did that, because how she cared for them and what she did, and how it created this like forever trust with that team and wanting to be a part of that team. But as much as I love that, it didn't fit the story we were telling. We were trying to tell what the legacy was with her parents, where it was like legacy and future. And it was great, but it didn't fit. And it was hard to cut that out, because that was such a cool thing to hear about her mom and how she's cared for other people and the impact that she's had on them, and how they're still part of the team and they're still part of the community because of that. But it didn't fit. It didn't fit where we were going. And the whole point of the video was to share, like, it was, who is Team Davenport? Like that's the whole video. Who is Team Davenport? Who are they of the community? Yes. Does that share a little bit of who they are? Yeah. But it also didn't fit the ultimate vibe. It was just tough to cut it out. It was an impactful story, but it could show up somewhere else. That's what I was saying. Hey, we got the opportunity to we could take another shot at a video, use some of that stuff, but man, it's tough to cut some of those good things. So sometimes, again, if it doesn't fit your bucket, you gotta let it go.
Dude, very well said. If it doesn't serve the story, you gotta let it go. There's been a couple times with making videos for me where I just have such a hard time, because I ask myself that question. Okay, does this serve the story? Does this serve the video?
Yeah,
and
that's a great way to put it.
For most of the cutting process, it does. I really feel that it does. And then I get down to that last bit that I'm like, okay, is this staying or is it going? And I'm thinking, okay, this is good. Like, this video is good. I watch it, and then maybe I come back a day later or after the weekend is over, or maybe even a couple days later. And I'm like, I watch it over again, and just something as I'm watching it, I'm trying to view it as the viewer's eyes and not the editor's eyes, which is tough to do, but I try to see it as other people would see it as they're just consuming it. And I'm like, there's something that loses me here. And it's just that one thing. I'm like, it just doesn't serve the story as much as the other things. It may be super interesting. It may be even funny. It may be something that makes me cry even. And I'm like, I just don't know if it does it, if it flows with this in there. And then I take it out, and maybe that's a great reel. Maybe that's a good social clip, but for the purpose of the main story, or the brand video, whatever it is that I'm making, podcast even, sometimes I have to cut stuff from podcasts. Usually you'd think, oh yeah, podcasts are uncut. And sometimes they are, and sometimes that's great. And sometimes you just have to cut stuff that you're like, that was a not a bad conversation. That was not a bad thing to say, but sometimes it was just not serving the product.
Doesn't serve the overall purpose
as much as some of these other things. Yeah. What would you say is why people struggle to tell their own story?
The reason I think it, and I'll tell you, it's with me, I just think people feel like nobody's going to care. Like, I think all the time, like, I've spent time setting my room up so I could film myself more and talk on camera. Mm-hmm. But my biggest barrier is I feel like nobody's going to care. Like, and I know I say that, like, you're like, well, Adam, didn't you like say an hour ago, like, just post a thing, don't care what other people think?
It's harder than it like seems. Yeah.
It's what I tell my kids. Do as I say, not as I do. So,
yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So, but man, I think sometimes that's the struggle people have, is they're like, why? You got to find a way to get over that hump. And I haven't. Here's my thing. I've told you before, I just hit I'm in my 40s. Like, why would anybody care about this 40-year-old guy being on social media, sharing whatever it is? I've even thought myself, like, how could I brand my personal social media? I'm like, I do so much in the church. I do church creative, but dude, sometimes I just don't feel like I'm good enough. And I don't feel like I feel like nobody's going to listen. I love looking at other people's social medias where they kind of share what they do every day and how they do it and how they build their social media and how they build it for their church and the stuff they do. And a lot of times I feel like that's what I could do, because that's what I do all day. And I'm like, you're always thinking, like, well, what am I supposed to film? What story could I share? Well, that could be my story. Like, hey, I'm a church creative. Like, this is what I do. Like, this is how I make a living, and this is the type of content I make. But dude, my biggest barrier is I don't think anybody would care, and I don't feel like I'm good enough to do it. Like, it's just something I've always dealt. I have imposter syndrome, and I'm one of those people, man. When people give me kudos, it's like Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? Like, how do I don't like when somebody was like, Adam, that's a great video. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, question mark. Yeah. So to play devil's advocate to you there, and to like kind of give you some words of inspiration, because it inspired me, is actually on the same LinkedIn post. There's so much that I've taken from that post, and I'm still trying to take, because I have to go back and revisit. And but one of the things that somebody said is on the other side of your biggest fear is your biggest impact. And I thought that was really, that's kind of helped me to get over some of those things of like, nobody is going to care. And you get 5 likes, 10 likes, even 20 likes, and you're like, dude, only 20 people like this? Like, and you see your favorite creators getting hundreds of likes and all these comments and all these opportunities opening up out of the middle of nowhere, because they're just willing to open themselves up and put themselves out there. And there was actually another commenter who said, and I think this kind of vouches for the power of being a creator at large. Someone on the post also said, the power of a good story is feeling understood by someone who doesn't know you even exist. So they're talking about, as the consumer, the consumer can feel understood, and like the storyteller, the creator, or the character in a movie, whatever it might be, the consumer feels understood, or can feel with a good story, understood by somebody who doesn't even know they exist, which I think is the power of telling a good story, being a creative person, sharing something worthwhile, sharing something that's worth making or worth sharing. If it's not your product that you made, but you're like, hey, this is amazing and you've got to see it. Like, I think that's kind of another thing that helps us make good stories. Okay, I'll ask you one more question, dude. Totally respect your time and thank you for everything you've said and been willing to share. How does the story, and there's a lot of questions that go into the story and a lot of answers that come out of it that help you dictate these decisions, but how does the story help you make technical decisions when you're making the video or making the photo? When you're producing the thing, how does the story impact or influence your decisions, your technical decisions?
Are you talking about like when you make the video, or are you,
so like
what do you? So what in?
I'll give you an example. So we actually recorded a podcast episode of my wife and I just reading all of these responses from this LinkedIn post of everybody's idea of what a good story is and what makes a story stick. And so for this particular episode, I figured, why not pull out my right here? Why not pull out my old camcorder? And we recorded it with this. And I recorded it with some really like cool cameras as well. Or I say cool. We recorded it with some modern cameras as well. Hey, right there. Love it, dude.
What's funny is mine doesn't work though. Dude, I used to carry this. This is what I took. So I filmed with this when I was in high school.
Oh, right
like,
on.
I remember every single youth trip we went on. I filmed the whole thing, but I can't use it now. I don't know what happened, but it won't turn on.
I would shoot.
So yeah, I wish I could get it fixed. Dude, I would film so much stuff with this. I mean, dude, I got night vision in this thing. Like, hold on.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, you ought to get one. I just bought one off of eBay like a couple months ago, and I've used it for more things than I have like thought I ever would. But yeah, for that particular, like for this episode, I turned on that camera because one of the comments was somebody said story is nostalgic, and I'm like, you know what? I think for this episode, I think it's only fitting that I turn on a camera that or I record it with a camera that is a 25, 30-year-old camera. Anyways, that's just an example that I've done recently, and I usually am not that thoughtful about like what camera or lens choice I use. But have you had an example of when the story, the overarching theme of the video or photo or product that you're making influences like the technical gear that you use? Does that make sense?
So when we were filming this video for the Davenports, I didn't think about it at all until I got finished. But I remember emailing Brittany. I was like, "Hey, do you have any old photos? Like, do you have anything for when your mom and dad were like young, and you know they talk about you being in it?" And she's like, "Let me see." And she sent me like this, like Shutterfly account. Like, "Hey, here's the only thing I got." Like, but dude, it was awesome because they were talking about the past, and I didn't want this like fancy. It's like when you watch a video. It's like when you watch like a ESPN, like on College Game Day, and they're, you know, it's the story of the week or whatever it is, and they just have these like photos like pop up. It fit the nostalgia of it, and so a lot of time for me, I think about the technical side after I'm done filming. Like, it's just my process. Like, I mean, yeah, there's some things I know of, some things I think through, some things that I think I might want to do, but in my process, I like to interview first. And then figure out what video clips need to go with it. And that's just my process. And maybe I need to be better at it, but that's what I've always done. Like, let me get the interviews done first, and then I can figure out what needs to go. So after we filmed that and listening to her parents, I knew in my head, like, man, I don't need to film a bunch of like fancy updated B-roll. Like, they're talking about the past. So in the video is a bunch of like, and I did the thing where they like kind of move and zoom in, and you know, they felt alive a little bit, but all the stuff I used when her mom and dad were talking about their first few years in Serpro and how they got started, and, you know, about Brittany growing up in it as a kid. I put all these photos, and it to me helped tell the story. And where I knew I done the right thing is when Mac texted me. I sent it to Mac and Brittany, and Mac texted me back, and all he said was, "No, I'm not crying. I just have something in my eye." And that's literally all he said. It was like, he said something like, "I'm not crying, you're crying," or something like that. And I was like, "That we got it right. We got it right."
That's awesome, dude. Did you have any more thoughts on story? What a story is, what it means to you, how to tell a better story? That might be a very broad thing to ask, so I'm sorry, but just any last thoughts on how to tell better stories?
Nah, just man, find a way to humanize your subjects. Like, if whatever it is, like, find a way to show that we're all human. We all make mistakes. We're not always what we do. Like, that's again goes back to just like trying to figure out everything we did when we used to tell like my Servpro story. You know, the whole point was to share with people like why they're a part of the team, and we just wanted our customers to hopefully see their video and be like, "Oh, we got Jessica," or "Oh, we got Brian." Like, I remember seeing your video on social media or on your website or something like that. It's just, you know, I think stories sometimes have a way to level the playing field, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. Yeah.
Like there's ways that sometimes when you tell a story that it's like people can relate. It's like, it doesn't matter how wealthy or poor or how good you got it or how bad you got it. It's just sometimes telling a story, I feel like it almost levels the playing field because it gets people to think. I'm trying to think how to word it. It just gives people the time to think more about how that story can relate to them. And it may not be the exact same situation, but just the emotions, the things they felt, the things they said. I think sometimes when you hear those stories, it helps you connect, if that makes more sense, connect with that person. And that's why I say level the playing field, because in a way they're like, man, they've kind of dealt with the things I've walked through, or, you know, whatever. I don't, that's what I'm trying. I know what I have to say, but that's what I'm trying to get apart is I feel like it allows people to feel connected to someone and on a similar playing field.
I love that. I heard recently from a famous author on a YouTube video, I want to say, they had said, there's not a single person in the world with, you know, if you were receptive enough, there's not a single person in the world that you couldn't learn to love after hearing their story.
A yes to you telling your story might create an opportunity for someone else. And that's something that we've tried to say as well, is like, by you doing that, someone could see that, and whatever that opportunity is, it could create that because you said yes to something that other people may have said no to.
Love that. Love that. Dude, thank you so much for your time. This is going to be...
Good luck editing this one.
You did great. I loved our conversation today, dude.
I don't know how you do it, man, because we're at an hour and a half. How you dwindle that? Because what do you try to dwindle it down to? Like,
I don't cut much from podcasts. Usually if I stutter or if I ask a question, most of what I cut out of my podcasts are me talking where I ask something. I find that I do this all the time. I'll ask a question and then I finish a sentence, or I finish a question and then I explain why I'm asking it, and then I ask again.
Dude.
And then I say, "Oh, does that make sense?" So I do that.
Person.
So after, anyways, that's most of what I
do
cut
it
out
all
of my
the time.
podcasts.
I ask somebody a question, and then it's like I have to explain why I asked the question instead of just letting the question go. It was funny because listening to you, it made me realize, I was like, man, I do that a lot too. Because I was listening to how you ask questions, and I'm like, dude, I did that the other day. You'll be like, so how does it make you feel? How do you get something out of a story? Like when you're trying to pull and do all this, you know, it's like you're trying to make sure you get it's almost like you feel like they don't understand the question, but dude, I do it all the time.
Yeah, dude, all the time here. That's the number one thing that I cut out of podcasts. And sometimes I feel that context is necessary to a question. If I feel that the question is like completely out of left field, then I'll leave the context in. But if we've just been talking about this topic for the last hour and then I over-explain the question, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't need to be in there. Gosh, dang it.
Yeah, dude, we're the same. So don't feel bad. Same thing. I do it all the time.